Dallas signed a top-notch 3-and-D player in Reggie Bullock, another proficient spot-up shooter in Sterling Brown, a 7'2" up-and-coming phenom in Moses Brown, and most recently picked up Frank Ntilikina. Ntilikina couldn't establish himself in Tom Thibodeau's rotation last year, but before that, the Frenchman had become one of the better backcourt defenders in basketball. This video breaks down the underrated impact of those pickups, as well as their coaching change. Also, stay tuned for the main reason for why the Mavericks could break out in 2022. Before continuing, over 3/4 of my audience isn't subscribed, so please subscribe. Also, hit thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. Now let's get into this. Earlier in the offseason, the Mavericks made their biggest splash, signing Reggie Bullock to a 3-year, $30.5 million contract. He's not the star that a lot of fans were looking to see picked up next to Doncic, but Reggie's going to help the Mavs on both ends of the floor. Dallas was the 6th worst team in the league at defending pick-and-roll ball handlers last season, which put them in the 17th percentile. Meanwhile, Bullock was in the 71st percentile of pick-and-roll ball handler defenders over the same period of time. The Mavericks allowed .91 points per play defensively, while Bullock allowed .81 points per play. A big factor to why Kristaps Porzingis has been a liability in drop coverage during his Dallas tenure is that none of the team's guards could properly fight through a screen. And there's no doubt Porzingis, among others, have to improve, but Bullock's defensive mobility should greatly help Dallas. If you're wondering about his offense, Reggie's very solid on that end as well. He's a career 39.2% three-point shooter who shot 41% last year while making 163 triples. Bullock's 6.1 three-point attempts per game would have ranked 3rd on the Mavericks, just ahead of Porzingis. The advantage of having three-point shooting isn't strictly from made jumpers, but the spacing provided for others is just as valuable. Defenses respond to volume nearly as much as they respond to accuracy. Along with Bullock, on the wing, Dallas has also picked up Sterling Brown. Brown averaged 8.2 points and 4.4 rebounds per contest with the Houston Rockets. It was a career-best season for him, in which he converted on 42.3% of his 4.2 attempts from 3. After spending his college career in Dallas at SMU, Brown was taken with the number 46 pick overall in the 2017 draft. Now he comes back to Dallas for the next chapter of his career. Brown also spent 3 years in Milwaukee, part of which were under new Mavs head coach Jason Kidd. Sterling's addition gives Dallas the NBA's 17th most efficient three-point marksman in basketball. Brown's also a very solid one-on-one defender. He's an athletic two-way wing who can bring it on both ends. New York's number 8 pick from 2017, Frank Ntilikina, may not have come close to fulfilling lottery pick expectations, but there's been little to no issues with his defense. Knicks coach Tom Thibodeau did an outstanding job in his first year coaching the Knicks, turning around their defense, but he made one big mistake. Back when he was the coach of the Bulls, Thibodeau developed a reputation for not having trust in his young players, and Tibbs lived up to his name by giving Frank Ntilikina 3 DNPs and only 4 minutes total against the Hawks. In 2018-19 and 2019-20, Ntilikina guarded Trey for 15 minutes and 59 possessions. In those possessions, Frank limited Young to 7 of 19 from the floor, and the Hawks scored just 73 points. In comparison, Elfrid Payton guarded Young for nearly 15 minutes, and on 64 possessions in 2019-20, Young scored 44 points on 46% from the floor, and the Hawks dropped 94 points. So what was Frank doing with his ass on the pine in the 2021 playoffs? While he struggled with injuries from December to February, he certainly wasn't injured, because Frank went on to help lead France into the gold medal game in Tokyo. Ntilikina was one of the last remaining free agents on the board, but good on Dallas's front office for taking the underrated PG off the board. Back in his rookie year with the Knicks, Frank immediately established himself as a lockdown perimeter stopper, as he ranked number 1 in the NBA at defending the pick and roll, allowing only 0.65 points per possession. Drew Holiday of the Pelicans finished second at .71. As a bench piece, without having to live up to the expectations of being a top 10 pick, I expect Ntilikina to thrive in Dallas and really adds some value. I mean, in a conference where you have to guard Curry, Lillard, Mitchell, Westbrook, and Murray in order to get through to the finals, the 7'1" wingspan, hustle, and IQ of Ntilikina should greatly improve Dallas's defense, an end of the floor where they desperately needed help. Before showing you a few things, firstly, their newest man in the middle who can really help out that defense as well, and secondly, showing you if Dallas can be a title threat in 2022, we can't gloss over the Mavs coaching change. Rick Carlisle's 13-year tenure, which included a championship, has finally come to an end, and former Bucks and Nets coach and Lakers assistant Jason Kidd has taken the reins. Of course, Kidd's not only a fairly experienced NBA coach, he led Dallas to a championship in 2011 as their floor general. This hiring allows Luka to get to learn from the second-ranked player in all-time assists per game and one of the most creative basketball minds we've ever witnessed. Giannis didn't want the Bucks to fire Jason Kidd a few years ago, but Jason did struggle to make adjustments over a few playoff series in terms of his substitutions and game planning. But you have to believe that Kidd being on the bench as an assistant for LA had at least a smidge of an impact on the Lakers' 2020 title. Given he's got the experience of being an NBA team's most relied upon star, Kidd was there to give the occasional piece of advice to LeBron throughout games. Now the league's best young superstar in Luka Doncic will have the benefit of taking bits and pieces from Kidd's expertise. The soon-to-be 22-year-old Moses Brown is now on to his third team in 3 years, so he's yet to find a home in the pros. He was barely given an opportunity in Portland, but in OKC last season, Moses averaged a solid 9 points, 9 rebounds, and 1.1 blocks in only 21 minutes. The highlight of the 7'2" big man's campaign was dropping a 21-point, 23-rebound game on the Celtics. Brown ranked 20th in rebounds per game, and he's the only guy in the top 20 to average less than 25 minutes a night. His contested rebounding percentage was also elite, as Moses was 4th in the NBA. His offensive ability is limited, but Brown's biggest immediate contribution is that he brings a tremendous amount of energy. Significant actions like putback dunks and monstrous blocks can energize a crowd and be a jolt of life to a team. Based off their performance in recent years, plus their new additions, can the Mavericks become legit threats to win the title? First off, it's pretty incredible to think that Luka only has 3 years of NBA experience under his belt, but he's become the heart and soul of the Mavs fan base and organization. Therefore, Dallas's success is all going to come down to the new elements Doncic brings to his game. Whether that's becoming a better leader, defender, free throw shooter, or off-ball threat offensively, there's plenty of areas for Luka to grow. And that's pretty scary considering how generationally great he's already proved to be. But in the midst of all this Michael Jordan-esque production, you have to take a step back and realize the Slovenian sensation's only a Slovenian 22-year-old. He's still maturing and learning not only the game of basketball, but how to deal with life in general. This offseason, Luka's front office has done the best job it could to surround him with the right pieces for not only the time being with Bullock and Sterling Brown, but for the future with Frank Ntilikina and Brown. In terms of 2022, I think Dallas is good enough to get past the first round, and if Luka has an MVP caliber season, who knows, maybe he can fuel them to the West Finals. I want to know your thoughts on the Mavs' potential. Let me know in the comments. Hope you have a great day. D-Flow signing off.